today I'm going to start my new series. I did a poll asking whether you guys wanted me to look at the show Disappeared or the old school Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. Disappeared won out, not by a lot, but it did. So this morning I started watching the first episode of Disappeared, and it was the episode of a female named Brandi Wells. These are going to be very difficult because there's no crime scene. There's no body dump location. And those are the big things that I look at in order to determine who an offender might be or what type of offender might be, whether it's planned, unplanned, whether there was rage, lust, greed, anger, retaliatory type murders. We don't have that here. You just have people that disappeared. Now, my first cold case was a missing person. She has never been found. Although I did get a confession from one of the individuals that was there and participated in her murder. The other individual ended up hanging himself after I interviewed him 20 years later or some time after the crime. So, with that said, it is difficult. So, I will not do a lot of speculation on these because I think that hurts the case. But where I feel that I can interject my opinion and back that up with, whether it's my experience or my training that tells me that, I will do that. So what I like to do in this new series is I want to put, I'm going to post a link to the actual story, more than likely the disappeared episode. That way, what I want you guys to do is watch that episode first and then come and watch this. And see if we come up with some of the same questions, same thoughts, same theories. And that way you have a better understanding of the case. So what do we have? Brandy Wells, 23-year-old white female, disappeared on August 2nd, 2006 from Tyler, Texas. The only way I know Tyler, Texas is, I believe, Earl Campbell, who was a running back for the Houston Oilers, was from Tyler, Texas. Not that that has any bearing, but that's how I knew Tyler, Texas. Brandy was going to a nightclub that night. It seems like she went alone. She may have asked some friends to go with her for some reason. Maybe because I want to say it was a Wednesday night. Nobody could go with her. So she went alone. It was, at least the mom's understanding, she was going to go to a closer nightclub in the area that she had always gone to, but for some reason she had changed her mind and she went to one that was further away. She is observed in surveillance footage arriving at the club around 10:35 that night and shown exiting at about 12:30 a.m. the next day. Important that she's shown entering together or entering by herself and entering or leaving alone. So she's by herself. The next day, and there's some confusion on this. I did a little bit of research after I watched the Disappeared episode, and everything that I saw said that her car was not found until 5 days later. But I swear in this Disappeared episode, it said that her car was spotted and tagged by a trooper the very next day at 9:30 in the morning as being an abandoned car. So there's some confusion on that, and if you know the correct answer to that, please let me know. But her car is off interstate I-20. It is not just pulled off on the curb. It's kind of angled in, pointing in towards a wooded section. And everything that the episode showed was that the passenger or driver's side door was open. But nobody talked about that during the episode. So I don't know if that was done for dramatic effects for the show or if that's the way it was, because you would think if that's the way it was, if a trooper spotted that car at 9:30 in the morning, wouldn't that stand out to him as something ain't right instead of just saying it's an abandoned car? So I need clarification on that as well. If that car door was open, I think that tells you a different type of possible story. So in this car is her purse. It's found in the back seat. It's important. I need to know, victimology wise, did she always put her purse in the back seat? I think most females, if they're driving alone, they put the purse on the passenger's seat, right? But maybe some put it in the back. Maybe her mom or sister or friends knows the answer to this. This is very important. Why is it important? Come on, you guys watch me long enough, you know. I'm waiting. Right. Because if there was somebody else in the car, if there was two people, should have put the purse in the back, not up front. That means somebody was riding with her. Another strange indicator is that the driver's seat was pushed all the way back. Okay? That's very significant. Okay? It tells you right off the bat that she wasn't driving. She was 4'11", 120 pounds. She didn't, even the family said that that's odd. So we can deduce that she was not driving that car when it was left there. Still, that car door being open, I want to know more about. They had assumed that her cell phone was in the car, but it was later determined to be an ex-boyfriend of hers who was serving in Iraq at the time. So where was her cell phone? It's gone. Records indicate that about a week, I believe on August 11th, remember she went missing on August 2nd. On August 11th, some cell phone activity started occurring on her cell phone. They were able, the investigators, to track it back to a couple individuals, and they brought them in for questioning. One of them, story doesn't make sense to me. He says he found it in a bad section area of town, and he heard it beeping, and so he started using it. Well, let me tell you what's wrong with that story. You're telling me back in 2006, cell phones were better equipped battery-wise than they are now? What I mean by that is you're telling me that this phone laid out for 9 days in the elements and the battery was still good enough that this individual's walking along and he hears it beeping and he goes and picks it up and then starts using it. No freaking way. No way. That phone would have been dead. Okay? Now, that's where he screwed up. If he would have said, I'm walking along and I found this phone, took it home, charged it, and it started, and I started using it, maybe I'd buy that. But he slipped up if, in fact, he did say he heard it beeping, and then he began to use it. 9 days away? No way. So, there's your first suspect. Why did this happen? Well, as you know, murders happen for 3 different reasons. Okay? Possibly 4. Greed, revenge, and sex. More than likely, if you look at her victimology, there is going to be no revenge. There is going to be no greed. It's going to be sex. And the reason I say that is because she was a church-going young woman, plenty of friends. Nothing in her victimology says that she was a high-risk victim. By high risk, I mean she wasn't a prostitute, she didn't work on the street, she wasn't a drug user or a drug abuser, wasn't a drug dealer. She was not doing any nefarious activities that would put her at a high risk. She didn't wander into a neighborhood to look for drugs after she left the club. Now, do I know that 1,000%? No, but I could probably say 99% based on victimology. If something were to come to my attention that she was a drug user, well then that would change my assessment a bit. But there was nothing that I saw from this disappeared episode that would indicate that to me. They were able to interview an individual based off something they found in her car. There was a name and a phone number on a napkin located in her car. This was a gentleman at the club. They interviewed him. He was forthright, said what he knew. He talked to her in the club, and she had pretty much asked him for money for gas. Now, the car was running low on gas. This was known by the mom before Brandy left to go to the club, and apparently she had asked a couple people in the club. This is the precipitous of what happened to her. Okay? What happened to her has something related to her asking people for gas money and her car running low on gas. There was a gas can found in the back of her car. Family members said that's not hers. Now, I don't want to believe that 100%, because if she was running low on gas before she got to the club, it's very possible that she stopped at a gas station and bought that gas in case she ran out. But would she buy that gas can and not put any gas in it? Or if she stopped at a gas station and she had money to buy a gas can, why wouldn't she just put gas in her car, right? So that leads you to believe that more than likely we could deduce that somebody gave her that. Had to probably be somebody at the club. Why hasn't that person come forward if that's the case? That's a good question. How did she get that gas can? One of the biggest questions beside the door being open that I have is, did that car run out of gas? This investigator on here seemed to me like he was speculating, because he said, well, if the car ran out of gas, could it have been coasted into that area? You have to test that car to see if it had gas. You'd start it up after you had, done your investigation on the inside, your CSI, to figure out whether it had gas and how much gas did it have in it. Because that's very important. If she ran out of gas there, that explains why her car's there. If the car still had gas in it and she could make it to the gas station, it's a whole different story. So I don't know the answer to that. And they didn't give that answer. But again, I love when I sit here and talk this through to you guys, because I think I have like my talking points done before I start, and then I start thinking about things. So would I be out of line if I said I knew for sure that somebody else was driving that car because the car seat was pushed back? What if she ran out of gas there, pushed the car seat back to go to sleep? Nah, not buying that. She had her cell phone with her. If she ran out of gas, it's my belief that she would have called somebody, right? So let's back up to she leaves the nightclub. If somebody else is driving, what would be the reasons that she would have somebody else drive her car? If she was intoxicated. But according to the person that they interviewed at the club, she was not intoxicated. She only stayed at the club for 2 hours. Now, that's a significant amount of time and you don't know anybody. So did she meet somebody there that would have been driving her car? Man, I have a tough time seeing that. Could somebody have abducted her there at the club and drove her car? Yes, but I would say more than likely not. If you're going to abduct somebody, it's my experience that they abduct them in their own car. They're more familiar with their vehicle. They know whether their vehicle has gas, mechanical issues, or anything like that. I find it hard to believe that you're going to abduct somebody in another person's car unless it was a carjacking. Which is possible, but from all accounts, that car was not that great of condition. So I don't know if I would believe that either. Is it possible that she gave the keys to somebody else to drive, knowing that it was going to run out of gas, and she followed behind with one of her, not her friends, probably the guy that was driving the car's friend? So it'd be two individuals. That's possible. But again, you would have to know her victimology and know what she was about and would she do that. Why wouldn't she drive the car and the two guys say, hey, we'll follow you, or here's a gas can in case you run out of gas? What's that? What good's that do you though, right? Somebody gives you a gas can, you're low on gas, somebody gives you a gas can in case you run out of gas. You still got to walk to the gas station. She didn't have money to get gas. So I'd want to know whether that gas can was new. They should have been able to tell that. I guess they did say they couldn't tell whether it had been recently used. You know, you'd want to know whether it smelled like gas or not. Because if it doesn't, and it's new, you can obviously start looking at businesses along that route to see who sold that gas can. If it was an old gas can that had the smell of gas in it, then you can assume that more than likely somebody at that club gave that to her. Now, does any of this get us any closer to answering what happened to Brandy? Again, like I said, it's very difficult. I'm not a magic man. You know, I never, and you know this from watching my other videos, I never say, hey, I know it's this, this, and this, unless of course I do, and I can back it up by fact. In this case, and I have that feeling it's going to be this way for this whole disappeared series that I'm going to do. It's a lot of, not speculation, but talking it out. You know, talking about the gas cans and then the reasons why. And if we can start doing that and start deducing possibilities to probabilities, we could eventually say Brandy Wells more than likely was abducted at the club by two people, blah, blah, blah. So I guess that would be the goal of this series, is just to talk it out, get it out there. You know, the more this channel grows, which it is doing at a very rapid rate, the more eyes that get on this, more than likely somebody will contact you or contact me, and you know, maybe we can get some answers for this mom. It was heartbreaking. You know, I've dealt with missing persons, and it's heartbreaking, okay? Just not knowing. I searched a an area one time for months after this suspect took me to the location, said this is where we killed her at. She's buried right here. Well, cadaver dogs alerted there. 20 years later, we dug there and there was nothing. I searched that area so much and I had so much time invested in it. I remember getting a jawbone. There was a skeleton there. It was a vertebrae, legs, no head, but there was a clothesline or clothes hanger wrapped around a vertebrae in this area. And I just knew for sure it was my missing person that I was looking for until I got the jawbone and it was like this long. I knew it was deer. I knew it was animal. I didn't. It wasn't human, but I was trying to make it fit, and I was looking at my partner. I was holding it up to my jaw. I'm like, it fits, because I was so desperate to find her for her mom, and I'm like, look, it fits. And I remember him just standing like this with his arms crossed, and he had this sad look in his eyes, and he just shook his head no to me. And crushing. It was crushing. And it was a deer. I had the bones tested, and somebody had drug it there with a clothes hanger, I guess, and took the skull. But anyhow, these disappeared episodes, like I said, is going to be tough. But that I need to know whether that car door was ajar. I got to assume it was. And if it was, man, you would think that she left in a hurry. Why wouldn't someone shut the door? Struggle. If someone is pulling her out of that driver's seat, that's a very good indication that that car door wouldn't be shut. If it was somebody else driving that car, there's no reason to keep that car door open. Only thing that does for the offender is raise red flags, right? So, I don't want to say that. If that car door was open, to me, she was drug out of that driver's seat. And what does that tell you with that car seat being back? If we can deduce that she was drug out of that car and that car seat was back, boy, I don't know. Where that car was found was 13 minutes from that bar. I was initially thinking, well, maybe she pulled over there to urinate, to go to the bathroom. There's a set of woods right there. She wasn't drinking that much. She was only 13 minutes from that club. Would she have had to pee that quick? And if she did, she wouldn't leave the driver's side door open, right? Because she would have a dome light. A lot of questions on this one. If I can get to the answers to that driver's side door, her purse, what was her normal thing with that purse? She didn't have any money. So the cell phone not being there is an indicator to me that it was a robbery of some sort. Could have been sexual in nature and robbery being secondary. But they took her cell phone. But they left the other cell phone in the car. So that doesn't make sense either. God, I love thinking this out with you guys. Because if it was a robbery, I was going to say, well, they'd take her purse, but she had no money in it. If it was a robbery, they take her cell phone, but no, because that old cell phone was in there and it still worked. So she was abducted. And she had that cell phone on her. That's the only thing that makes sense. See? You start deducing these things. Her car door being open. Her cell phone missing. Keys are still in the vehicle. She had to have been taken forcefully from that vehicle. But why is her vehicle along the side of the road like that? Got to know whether she had gas in that. You have to. Is it possible she ran out of gas right then and there, drifted off to the side of the road before she had time to call anybody? People were following her. Maybe not stalking her. Maybe because she was alone. But maybe she had met some people that said, hey, we'll follow you, in case you run out of gas. Nope, that doesn't make sense because she would have willingly gone in with them, right? But the car door being open, if it was in fact open, tells you that she was forcibly removed from there. Okay, well, I can guarantee these disappeared episodes are probably going to have follow-up videos too. So I think these follow-up videos are going to go to members because I owe them that. This plain and simple. So, if you want to see a follow-up on these, I guess you have to become a member. I hate to do that, but those members need some extra stuff, and so maybe that's what it'll be. And I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all the subscribers and members. I mean, I think this could be one of the biggest true crime channels on YouTube, the way that this is going. And I so much appreciate that because it's always been a passion of mine to watch these unsolved mystery episodes and these disappeared episodes. And I was a fan, just like you, of true crime and mystery. And then, fortunately, I was able to become a detective and work on a cold case unit and work on cold cases and establish a cold case unit and work on them full time with access to all the police reports and all the evidence. And it was a dream come true to me, So it wasn't being a cop and being a detective was like just an occupation. Being a cop was like, I never really wanted to be a cop per se. I just wanted to be a detective. But to be a detective, sometimes you have to take that route, and that's what I did in order to get to my dream and my passions. So I love looking at these, but just like you, I have a million more questions once I, view them. So maybe if we can talk these things out, if you are an elite member, I get so many comments and questions, I just can't answer them all. But if you are an elite member, I do. Leave your questions and I will answer them. So hopefully we can get some answers to what happened to Brandi Wells. And also what is very difficult about this is that a lot of this might not be facts. Okay? I like getting my facts from police reports or trial transcripts, court documents. We have none of that here. So basically all I am going off of is this disappeared episode. So hopefully that is as factual as it gets. And, you can always learn more after that when you research. But if they're not court documents or trial transcripts, it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. So I'm going strictly off the episodes. Well, that's it for Brandi Wells. Disappeared, season 1, episode 1. If anybody has any comments, saw something that night, get a hold of the police department. I am sure that there is a missing person's phone number, or comment to me and I'll get it to them if I can. But I'm not the go-to person. This is just a I'm not active law enforcement anymore. I'm retired, so I would suggest that you call the FBI, who seems like they're working on the case as well as the police department in that jurisdiction. Okay? Brandy Wells disappeared, season 1, episode 1. Main's out.